All right. Today we're going to be talking about um, first-time buyers. If you ever thinking about buying a home and wonder what and how inventory levels affect you and why they matter, this video is all about that. My name is David Delgado, President and CEO at Freedom Choice Lending. So let's get started with today's training here or information that we're going to be covering on today's video. First-time home buyers. A lot of times they hear a lot of talk about the housing inventory, especially in the media. They talk about real estate sales all the time, and I'll be honest with you, sometimes that stuff could be so far from the truth, because in reality, we just have to dive a little bit deeper in terms of what's really going on in the real estate market. Overall, right now, I would say it's the truth that real estate sales are down. However, property values are way up. This is not where things are slowing down and expecting a crash tomorrow, like everyone's talking about it. We don't know when the crash is going to come or if there'll ever be a crash. I've been in real estate and mortgage, for 2 decades now. Think about that. 2 decades ago, maybe even longer than that, when I jumped into the mortgage industry. So I've seen its ups and downs as far as the real estate market. But I'll tell you what. Real estate is a long-term strategy for most people when they're buying a home, unless you're out there flipping houses and things like that. But if you're a first-time buyer and you're going to be buying this home and you're going to hold on to this thing and create wealth for you and your family, and this is a long-term strategy for you, then sooner the better. Because inventory is going to go up over the years, it's going to go down. And how does this really impact you? Well, let's kind of really talk about that right now. Think about this. As home prices go up, generally speaking, we'll think that the competition or demand on those homes come down, but we didn't see that in 2021. Matter of fact, home prices skyrocketed, as well as home prices skyrocketed, and the inventory came down. So think about like that. If when inventory goes up, home prices typically will come down, but we haven't really seen that. We haven't seen where home prices are coming down because of inventory. So the only way that inventory can go up, I'm going to try to explain this as best I can. The only time we can see inventory go up is when there's more houses coming on the market than anticipated, right? It's outpacing the buyers in the market. And we're going to see that with the days on market. So that's something that you want to pay attention to, is how long has this home been on days on the market? But that's not a true reflection of what the market's doing, because that could be just an overpriced listing, meaning the homeowner overpriced it, or maybe the real estate agent overpriced it, and it's just overpriced, and that's why it's not selling. So that's why it's got longer days on market. Well, when inventory is low and homes are priced at market value, when inventory is low, homes prices are at market value. This is where you're going to have competition with other home buyers, right? So that means these starter homes, you're going to have multiple offers that lead to bidding wars. And this is where home prices get pushed up above and beyond. And sometimes it stretches your budget and things like that. Well, a lot of times what's pushing the market, from my 20 years of experience, is that home prices get pushed up because somebody bought a home in that area, fixed it up, or it could be a homeowner, but typically an investor bought that home and fixed it up and put it back on the market to sell for profit. Well, their main job is to get the most amount of money for that home, so they're going to do a good job on those upgrades, and that a lot of times drive these home prices up, right? And a lot of times a first-time home buyer doesn't want to buy those homes because they require work. So it's left to that investor to buy those homes, put that home back on the market within, a reasonable time period. And sometimes these investors, man, they're not in no rush to put these homes on the market because inventory is so low, right? So when we have a lower inventory, automatically it starts to push up home prices. But then you get that investor in that area that bought that one home, right? I'm going to just use these numbers for example. Okay, let's say they bought it for $500,000, right? But in reality, the market is $600,000. They are not going to put that home on the market for $600,000. Okay, they're going to put enough work into that home, enough upgrades. They're going to rehab it, repair it, make it look better than new, and put that home on the market a lot of times for at least $50,000 to $100,000 more. So what happens? They get that one offer because inventory's low. There's only that one really nice home in that area that buyers are just in demand for, and they love it, right? There's nothing better than buying that home. But in reality, some people can say, well, they're overpaying for that home. Not really, comparing it to what? Comparing to what those home prices are going to be in about a year from now? No, I think they bought it at a great price, because what happens is now that that home sold for, again, these are just numbers that I'm just making up, right? $650,000. I'm just doing it based on my own personal experience here. They sell the home for $650,000. And guess what? The neighbor next door says, oh my goodness, this home sold for $650,000. Our home, I thought it was worth $600,000. And then they go talk, I'm going to just role play this thing out like, hey, honey, guess what? The house next door just sold for $650,000. Didn't you want to move and buy that bigger home? Maybe now's the time to do it, right? And then they start preparing their house for the market, and then eventually they put on the market for $675,000. And that's where, if the home has not been repaired enough, okay, or upgraded enough, then the home buyers don't buy it. In those cases, it's overpriced, right? And a home could be overpriced in a low inventory and still not sell. It's just overpriced. So they put on the market and they're like, man, I should have put it on a lower price. So let's drop it. They drop the price. 30, 60 days later, home sells, right? But now what happened in that market, the new market value got established. Now we got two home sales, following along with me in this scenario, right? Now we got two home sales for $650,000. Well, it's now easier to sell the third home, right? And maybe another investor comes along and buys that home for, instead of $500,000, like, wow, there's a little bit more spread, the term that they use, in this area. Oh my goodness. They find a home for $550,000 and the cycle repeats itself. This is exactly what I see happening all the time. Now, an investor plays an important role now to create value in the marketplace. Think about that. Now, there's a lot of talks out there because there's corporate investors, and then there's, smaller investors, mom and pop investors that depend on, real estate investing. There's companies out there that I'm not going to mention any names. Some of them have been in business for quite some time. Some of them, we don't even know how they're still in business. It sounds like to me that when you dive deeper into these companies, Wall Street's kind of supporting them, or companies on Wall Street. And because the performance of these companies are not doing well, but they're out there buying their fair share of properties. And I don't really think it's a whole lot for them to, disrupt the property values in the economy, or in the marketplace. But they have a pretty big play in the role that they're playing right now, for sure. Last time I read is that, they're buying less than 10%. So it's a small portion. They're not buying a whole lot, but they're just buying it at a larger scale, meaning the mom and pop guys buying them locally, right? The corporate companies are buying them nationally. So even on a national level, it's well under 10%. And those are numbers I heard. I don't even have the exact numbers in front of me, but I'm sure those numbers are constantly changing. And I would say those numbers, based on my experience and based on what we're seeing out in the marketplace, those numbers are going down, right? Because the market has slowed down a little bit in terms of sales. So when we hear about the where the market slows down, that has nothing to do with the inventory, right? So a lot of these investors, especially the big corporate investors, they start pulling out of the market because it becomes a little bit more risky for them versus the mom and pop shop type guy, that's doing this to support his family. They're still in the game, right? They're just looking for better deals, right? So they're still in the game. They're still making these flips and still really bringing value into the marketplace and bringing this equity. So they serve a really big purpose in the wealth, because there's trillions of dollars in wealth in real estate that's getting created right now. The last number I was able to come across, 30% in my county, these properties are paid off free and clear. So that means there's a big wealth transfer taking place right now in real estate, meaning somebody owns this home, it's free and clear, and they've owned it for at least 30 years, and now they're passing it on to generations, right? So this is called generational wealth. And wouldn't that be a nice thing to have, just generational wealth that you're actually investing into your generation, right? And that's a powerful thing about real estate, that you can pass this thing down. So really what it comes down to is making decisions, right? Because when the market has a low inventory, generally speaking, home prices sell a little faster, but there's a lot of variables in that. One thing that we're seeing right now as I record this video is interest rates have been dipping down. Well, interest rates, when they come lower, typically what happens, home prices increase because there's more demand on the market. And if there's lower inventory, we're definitely going to see a rise in home prices. So I think what we're about to see, if interest rates remain this low, I believe we're going to start seeing home prices increase. But it takes time. It takes 30, 60 days of consistent low interest rates to have an effect in the market. And we won't see that till about 6 months down the road. So when you're out there looking at homes as a first-time home buyer, what you really want to do is get pre-approved early. You want to be able to do this because you, as a home buyer, you're going to make a stronger offer in any type of market, right? Because you just never know when that perfect home is going to hit the market where it matches your bedrooms that you're looking for, the areas, right? The price point, and something that you can call home and take advantage of right away. Most of the time, I get these phone calls on the 9th hour. They're like, hey, we found a property, and they're not pre-approved. By the time they send us all their income documents, that home's sold. But the ones that are actually buying and beating out other buyers to the best new listings are the ones that have been pre-approved. And on top of that, there's different types of approvals, right? Even on the purchase agreement today, many associations have changed it, where years ago, it was just, have they been pre-qualified or pre-approved? Now they have more options available where the real estate agent or you, the home buyer, can actually select that this has been pre-approved by an underwriter, right? And what does this mean for you is that means it's telling the home seller not to expect any surprises. Your income's been verified, your credit, and all the other good stuff that comes along with that. And that means you're going to be able to make a stronger offer. And with those types of pre-approvals, we can actually close in 14 days. This also gives you a huge advantage over other home buyers, because most other home buyers average closing time frame is about 30 days, right? Even if it was 21 days, you're going to be bringing more certainty into that offer, where the seller and the listing agent is going to feel more confident working with you and your agent. So that way you can beat out all those other offers to that hot property that hit the market, because we have that low inventory, right? So one of the things that you want to do, if you ever want to talk about prices, monthly payments, go over all the various closing costs. There's no cost or any obligation. It takes about 15 to maybe 20 minutes to do that. We want to do a really good job for you. That way you don't miss out on any details, and there's no surprises in the process. Just call us here at the office. Phone number is 866-587-6927. And if you're a real estate agent looking for a credible source that can actually help your clients get their offers accepted, where we can actually turn that offer into a cash offer, give us a call at the office, or check us out on our website at freedomchoicelending.com. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.